A quiet man carries a loud failure through 7 days that feel like judgment. In the stillness between breath and word, he relearns 5 simple habits that make strength audible without ever raising a voice. Dawn, 5:32 a.m. A rooftop 3 blocks from the river. Air cold enough to sting, sky the color of forged steel, and shame quiet as frost. Elias wrapped his fingers around a small stainless washery he kept in his pocket, a relic from his father's workbench. He stood facing east, feet square, eyes soft. The phone in his jacket vibrated with headlines he'd already memorized, but he didn't look. He let the wind read them for him and carry them away. He counted 4 breaths before any thought was allowed to move. For each breath, he pressed the washer against his palm, metal against skin, weight against weather. "Stand first," his father used to say, turning a bolt with forearms bright with sparks. "Then speak." Elias had spoken too soon last week, rushing to promise a fix he hadn't mapped. The system failed again, noisier. Customers called him a liar. Reporters called him slippery. He had no appetite for self-defense, only for repairing what could be repaired. The city yawned, sirens far off, a delivery truck groaning uphill, a gull cutting the wind like a blade. Elias traced the washer's circle with his thumb. Habit 1. See the day before the day sees you. Habit 2. Carry a small weight that reminds you that pressure is ordinary, not personal. He imagined returning to the office, the hush of early-hour carpets, the first coffee hiss. He would find the logs. He would sit with them until they stopped being numbers and started being a story. "Morning," he said to the wind, and the word left his mouth like a promise no one else needed to hear. He took one last breath, counted to 4, and tucked the washer away. The sky lifted from steel to pale iron, a softer metal. He walked down the stairs without checking his phone once. Monday, 7:12 a.m. The office was a cathedral of hums, vents breathing, fridges muttering, screens blinking awake with patience. Lights stayed low. Elias liked to hear the room before it heard him. He set his bag down, removed a notebook with a rubber band and a dull pencil, and opened the server dashboard. Noise resolved into patterns, spikes at odd hours, requests piling like leaves against a storm drain. "Early again," said the receptionist, passing with a carton of mugs. Elias smiled without looking up. "Habit," he answered, and after 4 measured breaths, added, "Good morning." His failure had not been spectacular, merely human, promising a fix to placate a room of investors while the engineering lead texted him, "Not safe to deploy." He deployed anyway. The live patch buckled under weekend traffic, and Tomas slapped a grin on the news, saying it was a brief inconvenience. Brief, yes. Inconvenience, also, yes. But the thing that ate Elias alive was the sentence he hadn't said: "We wait." He scribbled in the notebook, "Listen to the data until it speaks slowly." He circled it. Habit 3, he thought, the breath before the sentence. Don't let speed steal truth. Sana knocked her knuckles on his doorframe. "Got your email," she said, voice low, eyes clear. "I stayed late and traced the auth flares. There's a token rotation behaving like a calendar with amnesia." Elias lifted his gaze. "You kept the notes." She nodded. "All of them." "Thank you," he said, but what he meant was, "I forgot my own rule, and you kept it for me." He felt the washer in his pocket, that ring of steel, and found the day steadier. "Walk me through," he asked. They stood shoulder to shoulder, 2 human breaths syncing to the rhythm of a machine's slow confession. Tuesday noon, the conference room was overbright, glass walls reflecting faces that were trying not to look like a jury. Tomas leaned back, ankle on knee, confidence spread like cologne. Narrative matters, he said, drumming the table. We say the patch was a targeted test. We emphasize agility. We credit growth for stabilizing churn. Elias counted 4 breaths and waited for his heartbeat to stop mistaking urgency for importance. We credit engineering, he said, and we explain the root cause plainly. Tomas laughed. You want to invite a feeding frenzy? Sana slid a printed graph across the table. We don't need a narrative, she said softly. We need a calendar with a memory. Heads turned. She kept going, cheeks pink but voice steady. The rotation clock was drifting. The patch didn't help. It concealed the drift. Elias watched Tomas's smile pause, half gear slipping a tooth. Cute, Tomas said. But if we emphasize drift, we own it. He stepped into the silence, filling it with volume. This isn't a grad seminar. This is reputation. The sun threw a rectangle onto the wall like a door that could open if anyone stood up long enough. Elias felt the washes circle in his pocket, friction cooling the heat of his defensiveness. Habit 4. Listen until the room empties of its need to be right. He let Tomas finish, let the nervous laughter evaporate, then said, We own it because we caused it, and owning it is how we keep what matters. Mara spoke for the first time, voice like a bell wrapped in cloth. Honesty has a half-life. Delay doubles the dose. She looked at Elias. Can we publish the post-mortem by Friday? He met her eyes. Thursday. He turned to Sana. We write it together. Tomas leaned forward, a smile sharpened with challenge. Then pray the market likes sermons. Elias exhaled. Not sermons. Instructions. Wednesday, 1:03 p.m. River Promenade, gulls stitching white thread through a sky that promised rain. Elias walked with Mara, both carrying coffees cooling faster than their thoughts. Vendors rattled carts. A violinist repeated a phrase like he was sanding it smooth. You look better, Mara said. He shrugged. I stood at dawn, breathed like it was a job, and tried not to need an audience. She nodded. You have a hard time letting people not see you do the right thing. He grimaced, smiling anyway. A paradox for a man who hates being seen. They stopped at the railing. Water moved with the weight of facts, slow, inevitable, uninterested in applause. Tell me the 5 habits, Mara said. Elias looked at the river, not her. Stand at dawn, carry a weight you can feel, breathe before sentence, listen past the ego's last performance. And at night, he trailed. She waited. At night, you write the day without your name in it. Mara's mouth curved. You inherited those? He tapped his pocket. From a man who welded boats and spoke only when metal cooled. She sipped. Then practice the last one harder. Remove your name from the fix. He bristled. I'm not chasing credit. I know, she said. I'm asking you to make it true. They turned back through the crowd. A boy dropped a coin and it rolled towards Elias's shoe, ringing once. He picked it up and handed it back. Thanks, mister, the boy whispered, as if a coin were a secret. Elias felt the washer in his pocket and wondered when he had started needing to be thanked. Tomorrow, Mara said, publish a post-mortem that reads like a manual anyone can use. No heroics, no martyrdom, no brand gloss, just quiet repair. Elias nodded. And if the board wants blood? Give them process, she said, and the violinist finally found the note he'd been looking for. Thursday night, 10:46 p.m. The apartment was a pool of lamplight and pencil dust. Rain hissed against the window. Elias's notebook lay open to a clean page that did not care about yesterday's noise. He wrote, after-action notes. Then he began to untangle the week without the theater of self. He detailed the drift, clocks slipping like tired minds, the patch's cosmetic success, the consequent brittleness under load. He diagrammed a fix, anchor time to an external source, verify rotation with cross-checks, publish a dashboard the public could see. He wrote Sana's name first under contributors. He did not include his. His phone vibrated. Tomas. Draft me into credit. The phrase sat there like a slick shoe in the rain. Elias counted 4 breaths. He texted back, "Credits are roles, not rewards. You're in for comms, not cause." A minute later, "That's suicidal, Ward." He set the phone face down and listened to the rain discover rhythm on the metal balcony rail. He remembered his father wiping a blade on a rag saying, "When you finish a weld, the bead has your name in it, even if no one reads it. Make sure the name would not be ashamed." He flexed his hand, feeling the washer's cool circle. Habit 5. Write the truth as if you'll be replaced tomorrow, because you will be, by the person you trained today. At 11:38, he printed the post-mortem and slid it into his bag. He added a note to himself. "Apologize to Sana for last week's rush. Let her present." He turned off the lamp. In the darkness, the room exhaled. Elias lay down and felt his body sink like iron to the bottom of a harbor. Somewhere in the rain, a bolt relaxed. He slept before he could decide whether he deserved it.
Friday, 9:05 a.m. The all-hands was crowded, not with bodies but with attention. Screens reflected faces, faces reflected fear. Elias stood off-center, letting Sana occupy the light. She began, "We drifted. We hit it, accidentally. We will not hide again." The room absorbed her cadence like dry wood taking oil. Tomas interjected with a generous smile, and thanks to cross-functional alignment, Elias felt the wash of familiar irritation rise. He pressed the washer between thumb and forefinger and let the metal do its work. Sana continued unruffled, and Mara's slight nod said, "Let the work speak." When it was his turn, Elias stepped forward. "Last week I said we would patch fast. We did. It was wrong." He kept his voice even, unperformative. "The responsibility is mine, the learning is ours, the fix is public." He pointed to the dashboard URL on the screen. "You can watch the rotation clock. If it drifts, you'll see it before we do." A hand went up. "Aren't you inviting attack?" Elias answered, "We're inviting partnership. Attack is just interest with impatience." Laughter broke the tension. He continued, "Sana will walk through the new checks." He stepped back. No rescue, no flourish, just space. After, in the hallway's hush, Tomas leaned close. "You think humility scales?" Elias considered the question like a machine he might have to maintain. "I think discipline does." Tomas's grin faltered. "Market opens in 20. Pray." Elias smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I already did," he said, and it wasn't bravado. It was dawn. Mara caught his sleeve. "Good," she said. "You removed your name." He thought of the printed credits. "Not fully," he admitted, "but enough to hear the room breathe." She squeezed his arm once, a quiet benediction. Somewhere down the corridor, the coffee machine hissed like a fuse going safe.
Saturday evening, 6:41 p.m., the city rinsed itself in gold. Elias walked the river again, the washer warm from a day as pocket. The crisis hadn't vanished, it never would, but the noise was now a shoreline he could measure. He watched a tugboat push a barge, small engine moving a thing too big to make sense. That was how leadership felt, pressure transferred through patience. His phone held new messages, some kind, some knife-edged, a few from customers who said the dashboard made them oddly trustful. He typed back, "Thank you for staying." Then he put the phone away and listened to the river's slow muscles. A child asked his mother, "Why is that boat pushing another boat?" The mother said, "Because it can." He thought of the 5 habits and found them folded into the day like seams. Dawn standing, metal anchor, breath before sentence, listening until the room emptied, writing the day without his name. If they were secrets, they were the kind that only work when shared. He would give the washer to someone one day, maybe to Sana, maybe to a young engineer whose voice shook in rooms that demanded volume over substance. He would tell them that metal is patient and dawn is free. A gull dropped to the railing near him, regarding him with a soldier's eye. "We're good," he said quietly, not to the bird, but to the weak. He took one last breath, counted to 4, and turned toward home. The light finned, not cruelly, but like a teacher ending a lesson at the right minute. In the glass of a storefront, he caught his reflection and barely recognized the man who needed rescuing. The man he saw now looked like a tool that had finally learned its use.